Oi sanje chedan soye chonam loe janjo bardo dane yabzenje takye jin soye be sonam je ndola benjen sanje ndo varjo sanje chedan soye chonam janjo bardo dane yabzenje takye jin soye be sonam je Yola benje sanje ndo varajo sanje chedan zoje jonam la chanjo bardo dani gyabzenje adage jenzo yebe zonam ji Yola benje sanje ndo varajo semje damje dewa dan deve gyodan dembara gyuje semje damje dunga dan dunga ye gyodan dewara Semjen tamje dungal mebe dewa da me da war yuje. Semjen tamje nyirin chada nyidan da. Ta nyom la ne baran gyur ji. Semjen tamje dewa da deve gyudan den baran yuje. Semjen tamje dungal dan dungal ye gyudan da waran yuje. Semjen tamje dungal mebe dewa da me da war yuje. Semjen tamje nyirin chada nyidan da. Tanyam la ne baran gyuru je, semjen tamje dewa tam deve gyudan den baran gyu je, semjen tamje dungal je gyudan da waran gyu, semjen tamje dungal mebe dewa tam me da waran gyu je, semjen tamje nyirin chada nyidan da, tanyam la ne baran gyuru je. Oi, da ye. Yo je me do dom re ra le je nye de ye ba di san ye jin do me de bo yo ye do ge no do je lo che ba re jo na e guru na me da la ni andar ya me. In English.
I take up the achieve the Dharma.
By the meditated is practice, I judge state of without limit of sentient beings. May all
I
take the
take
basic without
Buddha
Dharma
and
and
Sangha,
Sangha.
and
By the merit created this practice, may I attain the statement of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Until my enlightenment, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And by meditating practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
may all
Sentient beings enjoy happiness and in causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and in causes. May all sentient beings be never be spread from beautiful place. May all sentient beings be abide equanimity, free of pride and attachment and anger. May all sentient beings be enjoying happiness and its cause. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and in cause. May all sentient beings be never be spread from joyful place. May all sentient beings be avoiding equanimity, free from attachment.
may
All sentient beings be enjoying cause. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings be never be separated from joyful place. May all sentient beings be and go.
this ground in order perfume stream
Spring flowers, mountain meadow, interval of the holy
mountains,
mountains,
ceremony
surrounded by the sun and moon. I will observe this without fear and fulfilling it. May all living beings enjoy yoga. Meditation.
So good afternoon to all of you.
I'm going to get it. Put some much.
Jigsaw. Inside.
I didn't get lost in the guitar. Motion go much of the Ganangati and that in this situation of Chiondo. That's a kind of intention to do. She was just looking at too much in the big bushes. She was just looking at too much. Canal and the touching tower, about the bonnet and Nebeso, touching tower, and Japon. So Tata Trooper Chapala, Tato Padan Temper Chingle Lobs, Tukindo Tangaran, Namjun Yonde game by Dinang to Shadula, soon they by intention your machine, which is soon the body. Taina Tukindong to Jorda Kurgo, the Kurga Captain, Tachitilla, to some shene, Shebaina, Digita, Tundata, Tukinden to any Dipa, Migevele, Candijina, Tilani, Chitu Kantukeni, Zemgoyatang, any chick, Yarab Kevele. 오고숨 주변에 즉 지금 간디도 오신 바이나라 된소 라인이 즉샘 샘게니 제인데 지금 샘 로데 당숨지고네 즉 템바다 시진기 살도네 배 출tun도네 장바 제거해야 돼 근데 애니 숨기도스 되네진데네 되긴도 딜라이네 즉 근데 투샘시네 돈돈다 돌디바이나 즉 상배 쇼라이네 투샘 같이 보셔야 시고야 돼 개침벌에서 다시 nembe ene chik maraki ni dipa mege le deso chik chik ngamam shushu ge ngone chik dikindo yon de wa de langa zu dona chine dilai ni chik nyong ta den de lai ni bezen chika de kechimore samdos
Quote from the prayer that we, recite regularly, foundation of all good qualities. This life is as impermanent as a water bubble. Remember how quickly it decays and death comes. After that, just like a shadow follows the body, the results of black and white karma follow. Finding firm and definite conviction in this, please bless me always to be careful, to abandon even the slightest negativities and accomplish all virtuous deeds. So those of us who recite this regularly, we are familiar with this verse. And what is important is to kind of reflect more deeply on the meaning of this verse. Doing our best to abstain from even the slightest negativities or non-virtuous activities or unwholesome activities, and abstaining from those, and doing our best with the tools of mindfulness, introspection, using our best skill to kind of direct our actions towards virtuous or positive, wholesome activities. So the point here in brief is, we need to sort of engage more deeply in the positive or virtuous, part or practice of our life. And then on the other hand, trying our best to first be aware and then abstain from, non-virtuous activities, which comes so kind of spontaneously, so easily, so naturally within us, and doing our best to kind of abstain and not letting ourselves sort of under the influence of or power of those negative or afflictions.
Yeah, so 다지단 단도 곱하기도 직서로 인사리나.
아,
직선도.
샤오마스.
다 뒤긴도 용대 바이나 당한줄 롭긴 롭센 단다디 샘기 꼴텔레 텔레 토고레스. 서와드니 요마 미세케테 되고 말아.
Imagine the
근데 롭센 디간라 토고 다디 슈시디 디간 토게 인사나 슈나.
Yes. So then we'll go back to our regular texts, Science and Philosophy in the Indian Buddhist classics about Buddhist psychology or mind.
가산디 시베 교단디 버도 로사라. 된 초선디
Tina 인지는 티파라 호아들 막 하시 쇼군이 있으면도
메나야 다디는 마탄다.
내말
다른 디버들라. 셰바데 수제는 데비서리기 차이 인메서디 데수드미도
원디 도 삼성 관데
로센데 오데디 치클로나
nos
오데디 포르디 프레그라프티 치클로나
알아. Page 46 if you have a book. Someone may ask, quote, although consciousness is defined as that which is luminously clear and aware in the sense of being beyond the physical, what exactly is the support or basis of consciousness? In general, consciousness is based primarily on the wind element, which is located throughout every part of the body, upper and lower, from the crown of head to the soles of the feet. In particular, among the five sense consciousnesses, the eye consciousness is located in the physical organ that is the site of the eye faculty. Likewise, the ear consciousness is located in the physical organ that is the site of the ear faculty. And similarly for the rest, up to the body consciousness, which is located in the physical organ that is the site of the body sense faculty. The first four sense consciousnesses are located at individual parts of the body, and the fifth, the body sense consciousness, is located at every part of the body. The mental sense consciousness has both gross and subtle types. The gross is based on the gross life-sustaining wind, prana, and the subtle is based on the subtle life-sustaining wind, which the text of the highest Yoga Tantra describe as being located at the heart area. Now,
오데르샤 다단다디 로버티 거스 든다디다 카상에만이 디갈라 딜레상로 좋아
no.
셈데 셰바데 지단이 셰바데 카왈레 니그리스 다 지단이 단당한 또 나베슈니 다 셰바데 네세토 다치 지수니 컨딜 버도 치 캡네 네와다 대한직 시단다 콘도 슈스번나지 셰베큐들 셰바 이나야 다치 수라바게니 치 셰바들 겐 유다 겐지 아니 직로 제고바 디나로 숨바나 신기다 다 조조디 단다 디나 숨바나 신기 네고야 디르샤 다나 신기 디간라 디도 인다디 디치 아니 원시 류왕다 요왕기 텐데 다 오다 단다 디나지 숨바나 신다 미시기 소 미시기 주고에 다 어디디 주시나
What has been presented here also deals with a question from the last session, the basis of the consciousness. So in Buddhism, as said here, located throughout every part of the body, from the upper crown of the head to the soles of the feet. And then also mentions about particular sensory consciousnesses and their location. Now,
되네 어디래 된다 딕바르들은 대다란 데도 롱 타워데 이셰라 타라니 니 타워데 제 미시기다 딜레스 살도다 미시기 주단스 케민도 데다디 소소 녜고야 돼 이셰라 타라니 니레 타라니 손진기 롱 라발라 템바다 타몬니 손진기 롱 타몰라 템지 닝가 네바다 상알라메 게제 닝가 네바체도 잠발라다 제다니 닝란 hard lagro de hard lagre de ina dila ngujingi samar na beshoni tadi di di ke tanda kimadela de ne di shugi sara dila ina nigre se sumudu
you want to run soon,
no taran deni taran di shindu tawete 이게 솔 디버트 차선 주셔나 되게 디버 로션 디버트 로 되는 것이라 먼저 되는 거죠.
Also, the important thing to keep in mind here is mental sense consciousness. It has, two types, gross and subtle. And then the gross is based on the wind called life-sustaining wind. And the subtle is based on gross life-sustaining wind, and the subtle one based on this subtle life-sustaining wind. Located at the heart area, and the heart area is not exactly at the heart. So this one is explained in the following paragraph. In the case of a human being, the heart area, the location of the life-sustaining wind, that is the basis of the very subtle mental consciousness, is situated between the breasts, close to and directly in front of the spine. In between the upper and lower parts of the knot, formed by the middle, left, and right channels, is located the indestructible drop, which is radiant. The gross life-sustaining wind, in its basic state, leaves and enters the nostrils and stays around the heart channel, but it does not remain in the central channel, or duty, of the knot at the heart channel. The special abode of the five-branch wind, the life-sustaining branch being the most important, is the heart area, which is the principal place of the arising and subsiding, and the lotus of the heart channel. The ways in which five sense consciousnesses function with regard to the five objects, form, sound, and so on, should be understood in accordance with how they are explained in Aryadeva's Lamp on the Compendium of Practices, which was discussed in the first volume of this series.
다단다 디나라 송바나 신기 단다디 신도 트웨 이세기 땐 송진 롱데 땐 디나 송바나 신 단다디 단당아주 디나라 아니 직 안주기 로본나라 아니 자 우마 캬마 로말라니 숨 요르다 문진나게 도왔다 칸타 장아주 견제제 그래 빠리나라 직 먼저 펩스도 숨바가 딜라니 자 로마타 캬마 우마라네 키마데 치 단다 디나니 키마세마데 타키 단다 오디기 기마델랑 원증게도 하소 어디 제 진짜 지단에 버리나 제요에나 근데 버리도 어디 제도 어디 제 되니 단다 지디수 운중음 단다 디나라 사원나진기 딜라 왕에 미스기 다양 즉 시오지 되세게 미치단데 디디니 상하단 저와 딘디제 차두도 이나야 딜리 개번도 좀바 딜라양 차벨라 따네 지단이 디기 상하지 릭데야 따다지 되세 캬마투바이나 딜라양 냥가지 차기도 요와 대양 따다지 파 저 마투바이나 냥가도 오지 용 차게 되자 딘점 소소기 즉 딜라테나 요바이나 즉 로네양 디체바이나 야고도 이나 메나 마오발라양 지금 아주 딜라게 콜라양 딩간이 균소 ngala di kola di sunjudan dendi tobyo gare dilatana tusem shero na se shuna
So when it talks about wind such as life-sustaining wind, the most common one that we talked about is three-channel. Many of you are probably familiar with those central, and then this right and left three channels, and then the text talks about different knots at the different locations, and Geshe was saying he don't want to go into the details of this being part of the highest yoga tantra, and if he explains, then if he doesn't explains completely or sufficiently, it couldn't be sort of beneficial or helpful. And maybe we can talk more in the future. But if you have familiar and have some knowledge about this, you can look more detail into the text that you are familiar with yourself.
no dishira tin mandi de sosro da din de tanto wa shima
Yes, you should.
yesul de tarande
다들 맞지 보다 그래.
다딘 마 예수 디치 예수 데 갑도 데라 디기 코너 로프트 디와데레 투스토 다란디 냠도 자르네 도 간데 로스
냥도 레샤다 있잖아. 세지.
당어조 딩간데다 드린 그런 디포트 딩간데라 치르가조라 다 딩간네 춘조 직 티베 냠용다 직 예데 요데 이나 양중어조 리우 세나레 디간라 딘데치네 도요레 다 치르다 가상만에 다 반다버도 치단기 로기 남자 로라이니 로기 예다직 로기 리버도 칸데 요메 디콘도 다직 슈바 탐제 다 소소 도도 단다 디카토데라 간데 간데 요메 당메바데 로기니 치다니 단다다 로기 예수다 빼랑 디소 녜고에 개침보레 상가도 단다 디카토데라 다디니마타 치단 로기 코랑기 디데 간라셔서 다다 디니마네 로기 예와단 디소 용게 되셔
So up to here, we went through the general kind of, sort of general knowledge about the nature of the mind, very general thing. And many of you have probably, studied or learned this part earlier as well. And the general kind of meaning of the consciousness or mind, and its understanding through metaphors that are presented in the classic text. So those are important to keep in mind. And from here, we will move on to, as the text says, the ways of categorizing or classifying, different types of mind or consciousness.
다단다 디간라니 로리 다 딘도 예와 숨도 예와 니수 예와 데데 스림바데 직 로샤나
Yes. So you would just read the section, page 47. Basically, the ways of categorizing consciousness, there are 7, and then there's 3, 4 division, then there's a 2 kind of 4 or 2 set. 이 차장로셔로 슈지도.
슈직스데
당보지
로리 딩기 쳔바베 쳔소사나 어디데 로네 디와데가 디디 와라 직도 디가나 직도네 디 코니 쳔바도 어디 슈슈
stuff. So the first categorization of the consciousness, 7. Last paragraph on page 47. To understand the presentation of mind, early Buddhist texts offer many ways of categorizing cognition. These are included within the 7-fold typology of cognition, the 3-fold division of cognition, and various twofold divisions of cognition. First, the 7-fold typology of cognition consists of 1, direct perception, 2, inference, and 3rd, subsequent cognition, 4th, correct assumption, 5th, indeterminate perception, 6th, doubt, and then 7, distorted cognition. The way that these cognitions engage their objects will be explained later.
지단이 남균에 kinzo 비긴도 간데스티게 맹에다다 하고 마선데 뒤균도 아주 공부하나라 티드 잠발라 다 페자 된데 데니 데포르도 데니 양교 데니도 양교 차와도 데니 차기도 데 지단이 가주신 아주 양교 데니 차와 즉 녜야다 지단이 아주 지단이 소소소소의 로고를 데 이나야 아주 냠도 로야다 소소 로야다 다나진기 양교 데체와 데솔라 텐덴 펜토 마오발라 직 셈라 네야다 덴델라 펜텐데 요레스 직 어디 직시나
So the way we kind of go through the text in the monastic institutions as well, we do repetition often, read again and again, and reading again, although you can do by yourself, but reading again sort of in a collective way sometimes would be a very beneficial and also beneficial in terms of, keeping in your mind.
어디에 다나 진행가 당한주 니마니마다 다직 사니마망 보지라 칼레 치드 잠발랑 안주
sarchi nima chikla nga tu kale do ane dide de shasang dende se ta lo ni so dhukura. Ina ta yang chik samlo chik tarang kaptu de la samlo chik tangwa ina yang chik semla nge de chik nyar tuya mewa de dende do chi samsamla yungura. Ina yang ta ta tanda nga tu di la di che de samba kap kola di yang chik yakbo tenya tang dende la chik pen to kare. Ta di nani dokdo sabje do de nge wache na yakbo yo re se. chik jela yang yu tenya de la subject de nge chemba de nge de samba di chembe ya la de so chik nga zo la ten de o yong ro.
So although we will be the way we do our teaching, we will be reading the text continuously, and through that, as we said earlier, helpful, but sometimes might not kind of stay in your kind of memory or mind. So for that purpose, it would be helpful to kind of try to keep the the section, because the text is kind of explained in section wise. So trying to keep the section or general kind of section, and through that section, then you can sort of remind yourself more details about that part.
Oh, di che ta din man di injina la chi lo sana this.
Ni wadi. Lo sum di yodi.
Lo ri dun du yo de.
No say.
Lo ri dun du yo de ki tang wala to sha ge tang.
Mare.
Di lo ri dun koran ki chamba de to de chik odi de shu shan.
Ala sharja ma de reda.
Di koran de chamba de do na ra. Koran ki chamba de ga la yong da. This di mo to mi chikpa yene me na gas. Lo ri dun di koran ki di ma.
우리 된 다른 쇼로가 직도 별갑시다. 원디 로사이. 이 슈글은 된 비실로 거절로 그 슈글로.
와텔라 디다. 그 인진능라. 오드지 니게 시주셔 된데가.
원래 워드를 치더라. 원디 워드를 다 개더라. 원디
어디디 이제나 야고. 어디 등에서
심중하게 특히 제일 높게 마마 있으려. 좀 수인치 도래는 쇼장이 이게 투주를 쓰면 돼. 이게 투주를 쓰면 at the end of this paragraph, the way these cognition engage the objects will be explained later. So Geshe said we'll be going to that.
그런 쪽이 뎁텔라 디탄다 디 인진나라 디오엔 디와기 쇼란데 잡사나 젤랭에 뭐 도초초초쇼 쇼란데 그런 쪽 잡샤와이나
그렇지. 뭐 Geshe 나 dio water 막 갑자기 내 말로 올래. 다들 뭐 되어라서. 우리 등 여래.
로리 tunji yo tanda tingala yulo jusu yirimba jane lori tunji jinamsa laid what
So then we will be moving to explain later meaning page 247 263 the seven typology of cognition in your book.
근데 강대로 그런 쇼랑 잡나 대selele
그래서 복화잖아 이거 버리죠. You are the cardinal somehow. So Geshe was saying you can mark that page, explain later meaning more detail in part or chapter 18, seven typology of cognition.
tanda tingala gangla ini thaya dang tatin ma wala thaya de zo chik rimpa to de injina la gang na jong sum shepa Geshe iche nala mangye ba thesum lokshi zeni to kangdela taram rimpa taram do pine yo na 어디지? 아니 와들라야 rimba de singdo ta kanta ya chidani rimba lori dingi yesul de la rimba do mando kama boye sar dina ta tanda di lo de yula chuksu ji rimba wando cheni sar ta di chik lo na tamo.
Yes. So this sevenfold typology of cognition. She was asking about the order of these seven. These seven are, orders same in Tibetan as well as in English, beginning with the direct perception, then inference, and after seven, where sometimes it is presented differently in terms of the seven cognition, and so these sevens are classified according to how mind engages in its object or respective objects. So if you read the beginning part of the detail, page 263, if you have a book, the sevenfold typology of cognition, we will now discuss using the example of a person engaging in a line of inquiry, how the mind engages an object in progressive stages. In general, it is from this perspective that the sevenfold typology is primarily presented. This typology is understood to have been introduced by Chawa Chuga Singye, a great Tibetan logician who established it as comprehensively sevenfold in the following manner.
This lotion. Lotion ta
Lord. Lona
망보다.
Martin Manlo Kazus Lord.
그렇다. 메시기 다 단다디 디가 수다잖아. 다 로니 돈 근데 지단다 단다 디가 수달라 다 단다 어디 로리든도 요조 로유라 주소지고는 조세스바다 직 로유라다 주소지고는 디저다 디가라 소소 순서다 두데 딩에디나마 네디나마 로글로지 디카투 딘디스 슈샤나 마레야나
Banana do it.
어디 직 콜레스 로니 담보데레스 타니
중간에 비유가 있어요. 비유가 이래.
음
비유가 쇼랑 가서도 얘기야.
이게 슈샤핀
이게 쉽지. 쇼로가 다 베르가 당고들로서
어디
이 체면에서 제가 러빈 적어서 이주서 러빈 샤바쇼기 언디보디 당부 차장 너를 등을 당연히 수익이 될 수는데 지르로로 주수 있니 등을 더 드라마로 교이
어디
드라마로 견디보도록 셔 샤바 수요도 바탈레
다 어디는 뭐 디스로션
So we were saying just read continuously on the same page. In general, our mind engages an object in two ways. A, engaging one standpoint without differentiating it from an opposing standpoint. B, engaging one standpoint while differentiating it from an opposing standpoint. Option A is number one, doubt. When doubting that something is impermanent, we can also doubt that it might be permanent. So this is engaging without differentiation from that opposing standpoint. Option B can be of two types. Number one, engaging in a way that does not accord with the actual state of affairs. Two, engaging in a way that accords with it. Of these two types, option one is quote unquote I is and quote unquote distorted. Option one is distorted cognition. Option two has two types. A, engaging in an object without contradictory superimpositions. B, engaging an object by way of counteracting them. Of these two types, option A is indeterminate perception. Option B, in turn, can be of two types: engaging an object already realized, engaging an object not realized before. Of these two options, two types, option first is number 4, subsequent cognition. Option 2 consists of two types. A, counteracting superimpositions by clearly seeing a particular. B, counteracting them without clearly seeing the particular. Of these two types, option A is 5, direct perception. Option B can be of two types, following a correct reason, and number 2, for not following one. Of these two types, option I is number 6, inference. Option second is correct assumption. Ma lo shen da. Inji da po ma subject ma dang shi tang bu ne je ba ni ba li jun te da chen ma ma yin ba nga chen ming lo. On te bu de lo she tan do. Tang bu ne je ba ni ba ni yi ju yin de ta di chen ma de lo wo ka ka.
단디게도 다디는 참아야지만 당해지는 막 미스기 데다디 레라 따네 마도 페나 치로 유라 주술라 로 유라 주주 주술데라 니요레세 숨다 다 니데 가르레세 주바네 단데디나 숨바네 몽갈레 타데도 마치베 초다 마치베 마치베 초직 임버 주바다 타데라 네버 초직돈 주바 니레세 좀바 다지단 당보 몽갈 제야데 하고 그러고 근데 몽갈라네 다지 페나 페나 단다 딱 받아 믿어봐 찍디는 찍디마인 거 받아 찍 여받아 매받아 된솔라 있는 몽갈 데 임비 초지다 델레 타데바데 마임비 초니 데네 데나네 당보딜라네 데데 태좀데 믿어봐 또바니 따바량 또베 델레 타데도 마치베 아니 마치바 소제 디디 코데 렌투이나 어디 찍슈나
So in general, our mind engages the way it engages an object, in the second paragraph, in two ways. So the text kind of tells the two ways. The first one is engaging one standpoint without differentiating it from an opposing standpoint. So here we need to understand first what is opposing standpoint. What do we mean by opposing standpoint? Opposing standpoint refers to two objects being in kind of SS, opposition, such as permanent and impermanent would be opposing standpoint. Likewise, existing and non-existing would be, standpoint, opposing standpoint. And so for that, in the same kind of following sentence, it says, doubt comes the doubt. So Geshe was asking, is this kind of explanation helpful?
I've been a little lost.
Yeah, thank you.
야야야야 지단에 다 디나라 두디 돈다딩한테 디기나라 디나 송바나 진지한 고아데 따다 가리 땡기여메 땡데 셰크바 제거에 개침버려서 다단다디 태좀디 디체로 다른 니파데 시진네 술다 미팀버 주바다 팀버 주바니 시진네 술다 팀버 주바다 미팀버 주바니 기디기 딜라 로델라 가르자 록시 로
그렇죠.
어디지 단다 체진에서 팀바다 미팀발라야 돼 인진을 가슴도
요즘은 전등에 대해 갈로들에 가서 does not accord accord with actual state of affairs. Does not accord with actual state of affairs.
어디를 단다 디가는 믹스 인해다 디가는 내배양 디디 돈다디 디기 도도도도 배선단 천시단 데데 네 이마도 네 나라타타 선바디다 딜라이네 다랑디 다직 디쪽이 다 록시기 된도데 하고 오라고 다디도 실 용기도 영하더라 다단다 디디 코나 다단다 디보로 던도샤나 도도디 디보로 다란디레세 니바랑기 천이 설레던 도도바 네바다 살아통하다디 디보로 로사인
로사에 찾아 말고도 로사인데 버디 인도 고쳐 맞수사데 데 니발란다 양다 가서 다양다기 제수 장보다 장반이 당분의 제반에 니번이 주인다 있다. 언제부터 로서 상.
네. 근데 다 대som 라이드 하고 거라.
이제
먼저 하고 거라.
이게 지단 거란 게 노래 뒤에 맞아 와다 영화 연구도
딩엘라 콘츠직 도사라.
저래 so
디디 방법로리 딘 거란데.
oh
디직 따다지 디제나. 디제나.
yeah. So he was saying that when he read, he was assuming that you know what does doubt means, those seven typology, since we went through the one text earlier. The actual, the meaning of these seven cognition will come later in the text. Maybe he was saying maybe we can start first with explaining what are these seven cognitions. 아무도 이해하는 게 된다 지시로 시작했네.
어디.
이거는 이해하시네.
근데
이거는 게 지당이 되게 되는 게 뭐라고 마신 거네. 이거는 게 룰이 가서 되게 되잖아.
어디 그 깨치 모르시. 그래서 다단다 다 대som 라이드 가서 로지 다 대som 라이드 좀 로지 니바도 디 페나 딘지 직 통에 좀 디 이나 페나 직 칼라워다 페도 샤바이나 페 ngo포도 샤바이나 디 ngo포 이나 메나 삼베 대som 사와도 다 페나 가서 이다 직 타바도지 딘둘도 지빌로도 디 둘이나 타직 타바이나 삼에도 딘데 어디 용거라 어디라가 로지 니바도 라이니 대som 세계레지
So now going through the seven, this cognition, beginning with the doubt. Doubt in general is defined as a two-pointed mind. So like for example, if you are looking at the rope and then your mind is thinking, is it a rope or is it a snake? So the mind is not by itself came into any conclusion. It's kind of two-pointed. This could be this or this could be that. That kind of state is thought. State of the mind is called doubt in general.
다나진 록셰는 마임바 짐바들 록셰
Distorted cognition is simply considering something true as a false, or something false as true in simple form. That is what is defined or called distorted cognition.
다티는 마치지는 대체나라 망에 빠진지 나라 망에 빠지 남라 망에 빠지 잠발랑한조 직게 파 ngo포도지나 이 빠직 메도도 이나레 가리는 데리질라 직섬지지도 때데베 갑라이네 한 셔바지게 깨다와이나 깨다든지 다와이나 디니 마고 고민다 온든지질라 다직 직나라 망에 빠지
Indeterminate perception. Indeterminate perception is, for example, if you are sort of single-pointedly enjoying the sight of flower, you're looking at that flower, and at that time somebody kind of talks to you, and not able to really apprehend what that person is saying because you are completely focused on that, that sight of the beautiful flower. So the sound that you're, the listening part becomes indeterminate perception.
이제 바지 다 제시라나 아니 제시라이드 삼로카르 당고잖아 디 응엘라 직도네 양규 또 봐도시 데니질라 삼로타나 디도 제시 도세 페나다 어디 도진 제마하면 도진 야 라야 또 봐들 제시질라 다디나 다디 그래 어디지
Correct. Subsequent cognition, as the word says, subsequent cognition, it is a cognition, basically in Tibetan, cognition after cognition. You already cognize something, but you're cognizing it again. So cognizing something that has been already cognized is a subsequent cognition.
Question.
Sure.
According to Western medicine, cognition is the registering of outside information in the brain. It doesn't necessarily involve realization. Does Tibetan definition of cognition also involve realization process? Like the realization, the motivation process, the intention process? Is that all included in the definition of cognition?
노저베게 된데 그런 시컬 치워르셔. 지당아도 시기 파 비유들 주나 로라도 교셔. 그거는 줄래데.
알레네.
제가 노저베 고안 주 대신에 로라도 잠발라. 되게 유지기 시에바시어로 유시에발로 유디 랭게 잠시마도 지기 나올로지. 시에다 또가야 되는 게 요마레로 다간다 베베 나올 저거 대셔. 벽에 나올로 저기 로라셔로 다들 코그니션을 교다이 산스크리트로 보티라이데. 어디 나올라 가서 다지기 simba tsama yinba di nāla xie da tsama tsūgō rūyā lā tu.
로라.
Lōla.
로라 디 추고라 당하지. 로 셰바데 로다나 셈라나 찍어라.
Xie wānta nā wāzu pīyū nye pā di nāla inji tōr cognition lā lōla gyōr xia tuwa. Tā di kū Kurāng.
다 어디 단다 찍 교단라 개발마도 단다디 어디 데레스는 슈샤나리.
So yes, in Tibetan word, cognition, as we said earlier, is synonyms with awareness, consciousness, and mind. So it also includes realizations as well. Realizations, understanding, apprehension. I'm trying to use the word that is translated in this book because we're using it. But in other book, you might find a different word.
They make 7 distinctions in the brain chemistry or in the brain neurology. Like cognition is a different stage than realization. Realization happens after information is registered through the sense organs.
Okay.
Like that's stored in the brain, and then the brain attacks that information with our left and right hemisphere to process, basically. It's the CPU, the prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
But cognition happens in a different area of the brain.
나고란스 노저베 디셰는 지당아주 로라죠라. 다데 디게 첼레디 레베나로라 남주기 시에와다 똑바라죠라. 디게 첼레게 사자디 카가레 아니고 방름 지내게 당보 로그 림보 용엔 슈고라 또에디 제일 연구를 해서 다 간다 고란 된다라지 지고 말해로죠.
So it's not a scientific thing, they're translating.
고란 된다데 지고 말해
Yeah, I don't understand the distinction that they're making.
개발 관련 시고래로도.
네네네. 다딜라에 단데 당부 또 되니시고 되듯이 봐라. 또 되니시 나도 있다랑 디치기라.
It's a general understanding.
네, 틱디라고 틱된들 로라셔라. cognition은 교셔라. cognition에 틱 다가는 게 당보디 디치고 그래서 고난 라이시나. 혹시 되게 또엔 사로 되게 하고 엔 죽을라 또에 디 죽을 얘기도 그러고. 되는데 그 먼저 분이 로 리퍼셔바디는 상관이면 두셔로 고난 디나 야와도 지금.
야야 되게 야. 되더라. 다단다 띵을 니들 라서 되게 지셔. 단다 다지 셰바라나 다직 다다 세말라 때네 도에도 페나 추디 도여 바탈라 때네 에네 직 메여 바 뽑아다. 당한지 단다 페잖아 추게려 바타 탈라 때네 추여 바 또바 딘디실라 디시다.
칼로 이시다 셰발렘베.
디 셰바
제발렘베. 셰바니 콜트와데 랭게도 삼스.
말 코디 트와데 말다.
네.
코디 미스기 때다 랭자고 합니다.
고랑디다 아주 제자 르리 셰바나 로다리 버 셰발라지오라 디예와 치다는 가릴 때는 예와 간데치고 디 세부 참아송사 디 고랑이다 고라 인직스기 고아도네 고랑 고디로와 고지치고 마르샬로 된다 돈데르샤
디치고 합니다.
So we'll move forward because you said here
this one forward
respond later. Geshe is the Jeba line.
Shebate. Shebate pen Shebate tua della tua io betala tene me io parpoata e ci io betala tene e ci io parpoata pet di ligi Shebala and da Shebas sigdo.
Inferential cognition. Basically using inference, for example, most common example, because of the smoke, you infer that there's a fire, and because of the water, but you infer there is a water. So that is the inferential cognition. This
다들 무슨 다 다른 무슨도 또 봤다 다른 들어 즉 가리 주 가리지 바이나 다 다른 무슨도 통화 다른 데들이나 되게도 단다도 이내다 다 디레레레라 소소소소게 제 천이당 된데 즉 여여다니 셀라 콘 고토바이나 셀라 디
와들 빼샤다 빼디 펜도스 와들 하나 포직 배시나
칼레디 무슨 디 단다데 와와데레
마레 디슈 디 와들 글로리 듄디 림바 차단스타
알로 데두월도 십시오 이게 십시오인데 십제대가
때는 로리 듄 센시 치다시다 전에 연수나서 투댕글라 치다바시기
어디래 어딘도
이래도
대좀 딜라디와라에 따라 디레레레게 디지 자도 다단다 어디 디지로 숨치 대좀치 이제치 에니셰바치 지시치 숨치 레텐도 아니 메살로 토벨로 단다 디간라 단다 디 레텐도 메살로 토벨로 타보스 로타보디 무슨 디고다 네 단다 딩에마데 주도 더도 그러셔
근데 이거는 페이지션에 인지도를 치시다 디피트로 이거 이거는 고파 로리 등 발음 계단 저를 뭐 방지는 거라
계란디 다다디르셔데 로시 태소 이제 셰바 제시 아니 무슨 어디 단다 데다 어디 제시나
and the final one is the direct perception. The direct perception, as the word itself says, perceiving directly. There's nothing in between the consciousness and the object. Maybe this example would be helpful. In the progress page 264. Now let us explain these 7 categories of cognition by relating them to how these types of cognition engage their objects in progressive stages in case of a single person. First, say there is a cognition within our own mental continuum that either reifies or denies an object's features owing to misknowing, confused about the way that object exists. This is distorted cognition. Then that strong distorted cognition is undermined through the use of consequential reasoning, and the mind of doubt arises. So that it starts from doubt and distorted or wrong, and then doubt arises. Next, thinking about the topic rationally using the correct reason characterized by the 3 modes and so on, that mind of doubt is removed. Now comes the correct assumption. Correct assumption arises. Not satisfied with that alone, we contemplate again and again with the wisdom of fine investigation and valid inference comes the valid inferential cognition, a stable ascertainment of what is to be inferentially established arises. And then but this mere ascertainment is not enough, for we need to continuously cultivate familiarity with what has been inferentially ascertained, so that this knowledge become almost like second nature within our mind. Thus, there arises the subsequent cognition. That is the continuity of the mind that has familiarized itself in that way. In the end, the knowledge derived from 3 modes of correct reason too arrives at perception. That is, the mind that familiarizes itself with the certainty gained by the inferential valid cognition through repeated acquaintance must in the end transform into perception. a cognition whose object appears clearly without being mixed with universal. But the mere indeterminate perception, where that perception does not ascertain its object, even though it clearly appears, is not the end point of this process. All this constitutes a presentation of the sevenfold typology in accordance with the approximate order in which they might arise in an individual. 강사직이 줄을 기당 고름 줘로 언제 소시.
어디 단다 디고 소리. 아, 디도 단다.
뭐 세로 다이나 고고니 다이나.
제.
강사직 다직 되더라시다. 언제 좀 되말로에.
어디 치. 다 단다 딩을 단다 딜로리 딩게는 도도도기 디디 추서지. 다다나 진짜 배잖는 라인이 배제와는 딘디 다란 딘디도. 어디 되는 게 버체로지. 네가 나로 나지. 다 드링기 단다 디디 시간 샤첸 디 퍼센트.
So you're saying we have presented kind of briefly, the what the seven are, and then it's kind of how progressively kind of these are sort of arises or generated using us, single person's kind of experiences, and hopefully that will kind of help you to understand, and you can try to keep those in mind. We'll take a break here. Any questions?
Just think it was your question.
They didn't catch the whole definition, what the definition of direct perception was.
Actually, this will come in the book. Okay, so and then we some get saying like that. This So if you have a book, it's on page 237, the definition of a direct perception. What do you want? The cognition that is unmistaken and free of conceptuality. But again,
Page number.
page 273. 273. Yeah. Yeah, yang konsuliante jebarian tok chelo to tok pala dian sig di khumar. Sig nam yu konsu ko ga de shor.
Yes.
Tien de color nam yu ke ja ko de ola ore. De to ne na yu kyu mi kyu mai ki she na de to ne ti ga na. Palo ti gi ni se mi no de chino konsu sen from na so good.
Yes.
So, Tim, question. So, will we go through all of these levels, or would we jump to one or another depending upon our own our own experience and doubting and dealing with our doubts and getting past that? Can we get past some of these? Do we automatically go through all of them?
The lorry doing the logo, lorry doing the Ganzo, make you much with Sanning on Zogi. Sonala, the lorry doing Chazan, the Yungu Yores, Yonige, any Yonda de la Halo, Chicashe, Yonch in the Betia, Maget, the Yoncho, the Pession, Tesum Dotion, Tesum Sayan, Tesum Shul, Meo Chadura. Or the Yonda, the Candis Yongu, Lagosar, Yon, any bet corat, Temajin Yon, Yam, or wet in the Dash.
지난 레레 다디다 다른 디네진 로리디네 태솜데 삼카카블레케 카발레 마케 와데네 용그라 페나 직 다로데 지단네 튀겐도 로리딘 지단네 요와체 다직 나도 태솜데지나 카카블레 태솜케 그래 카콜랑도 로데 테단 텔라 주비 카프 다디 소소케 용그라
로데 테레 주고는 가려 주고는
페나 태솜도지네 태솜케사게 율도다 율라 주어셔라 페나 로록시도 지게바네 로록시케사게 율텔라 다 지게비 뒤텔라 다 기그라 대양 카푸데 나임발라 비디움 이키마라
So these seven cognitions something that we kind of experience in our daily life. They kind of sort of arises and then they disappears, depending on the object on which our mind kind of interacts. So, for example, you brought example of doubt. So when there's an object of doubt, then at that moment, the doubt will arises. You have a doubt whether this is this or that, and then after maybe it's gaining some certainty, it might disappear. But then later you might encounter object of, say, distorted view, and you might at that moment when your mind is interacting with that object of distortion, you might have that distorted cognition. But then it might disappear later, or you might able to fix it later. So it depends on the object that you encounter. Any of these seven can arises and then disappear, and arises and disappear.
Okay, so it's a general categorization. But if you have the same object and you come back to it, and you've already gone through your doubt part, you go through it again, you don't necessarily, unless you find because you've been practicing and you see something different in it.
다도 디지털 로지다 제다바다 모랑게 배샤셔라 태좀 로시나 태좀 코란돌다 태좀 당보지사 안 태좀 사치네네 고네 양델 용수네니야 칼로 디그네지도 차상 시에서네니야 태좀 사모고에 내당지 리로로도
어딜 얘기 어딜 얘기 다 변한 직 단다 다 태솜 사이드에서 마다 딜로디 야 콘토도 도라 로직 야 상하시 연구 계사라
so yes when you in the process when you have first doubt and then later through whatever means that you kind of that you use to find out the reality, and when you are free from such doubt, then on that particular object your consciousness sort of jumped into higher level of understanding.
What is meant by a universal in this context?
Well, okay, the word universal, what is the word
A universal.
네네
딜라 word sig
지용 되더라
말에 sig 딜랑 딜 교류 먼저 난 여기 튼지를 해줘라
네네네
이건 튼지
던질래 유니버설에
딜랑 딜 교류 좀 스트쇼
어디
지레
지
지레도 튼지마다 지레도 카레지를 그걸로
지단이
지레도 지데 치라라 셔 딜라데
예
배신나 온다 지레들 예와치도 좀 발라 튼지체 다지체 예와체스도 지레지 카레지 고월에서 원래 디나 티셰 되도 கொஞ்சம் 와르시
어디 인지나를 얘기하대 직슈다 되는 것들 지단 지라니 기는데
I was looking at the glossary, page 5. The Tibetan word is chi. The universal is the direct translation. Chi and universal, the direct translation, and is an abstract object of thought that encompasses all its instances. Although a universal is not causally effective and is therefore unreal, its instances may be real things. And there are different types of universal: object universal, word universal. Object universal is a universal that encompasses its specific instances. Word universal is the universal type of word that is expressed through the specific utterances that are its tokens. So that's in the glossary. So Geshe will give his explanation.
지단에 지라도 뭔가 인지나라 커뮤니티다 초대 속보도 들을 지라그러 어디 직발에 인교다 이나 단다 디치들래 도마라 시순도 제베나 지식도 도마라 시순도 제베나 디디 고기나
So it was reading the definition. One that follows or accords multiplicity. That would be the definition or meaning. Again, he was asking whether that definition is helpful or not. So when we say chi or universal, it can have a meaning of like when we use word community, gathering. It is a kind of it refers to something
촉발도 올라이라 그래.
gathering or community or
응.
yeah, this maybe society or social.
야.
It has that connotational meaning.
근데 지제
근데
대상 걸 뭐보디 지제. 근데 본바다 까war라 소바 제다. 딜레 삼로치다.
understand quite. So when we say universal in this context, the object or phenomena or things would be universal, and the particular would be, a part or books would be the particular of that universal. So in that context, it might be easy to understand, what is universal, the abstract, kind of thought which applies to everything. But then along with the, universal, there's always particular. So the particular would be particular object within that universal. Yes. 던진데 다시 숨기냐면 가는 거죠.
내가 라마스만이.
Excuse me?
A single object that would be representative of that universal.
뭐지 대응 그래서 거라.
홍보지 가로 정말 개별라고 그래.
네. 대다 지다 제다니라 이민기 무시는 하고로.
더 손대.
기다 제다니라 이민기 무시지고 지인라 제다만 봐 제다인라 지인바 네가 임바 된대요. 다
근데 예,
저기 디마지 근데 디 코디 가르라서 양주시 아마 진짜 그는
지난 치라야 돼. 단데 될 망고 치질 망고 송고도 치디 된다 가르라고 그래도 그거에서 말 된다.
어디 나는 랍사라 단데 심바
근데 뭐라 로는 고쳐 시긴서.
오케이
던지들.
Reading this book.
all of Asians, like they were saying that something like I think it was like I drive a Subaru, which is a type of a car, which is in the scope of living things, which is in the scope of conditioned things. Like, is that what we're going for here? Or
근데 어제 내일라도 강 치려도 가려고 그래서 배시는 코란 배시하시는 코란 모르시는 거를 모르대 안에 가려고 그래. 그 배주당에 뭐보다 없이 안데네 야야야도 나가로 치 주요를 근데 가로 코와도 있어요. 다들 칠래도 그
내 말에 내가 말아
될 칠래도 전다 가려고 그래. 그래서 고가 가는 데는 오래라도 칠래. 근데 딜 미세는 심 그디 로리가로 디갈 배전하고 치다 가서 디와데 치료는 뒤도 치료다 지론 지원데 얘기 로가로 칠래도 고가 가는 데는 오래라도
단다 디간라 돼요
when you say universal, are you when you're asking question, are you referring to a particular kind of context?
In the chapter on, or the part on direct
Perception.
perception.
네. 숨기 디나울도 있어. 디나울. 오케이. 네. 언제로 던질래야 되시야. 던질래야 돼. 숨기 나.
근데 대치다 던치죠 대치단 단다 디간라 지 제라라야 되데 시세서지 대치다 던치세도 잠발라 당한조 응엘라 던치세도 잠발라 딩갈랑아 조직 냠뇽 산에 또네 직 베나가조 디나라 타키조 데 요로단다 다디는 파 나라 도네 디 단당아조 디 초강데니 삼로 당와이네 로라 차라지오라 어디라 야 던치도 오세요
던지.
어디
근데 다음에다 보면 디나도 무슨 인정을 좀 얻을다. 되게들 잠시 큐베터 다음에다 봐 던지 담아대 벌써 왔다고 무슨 뭐 중원 어디 던지들 원들 저와 되는 렌서. So that
던지대 당도 어디 치다 어디
again, the word, of course, that that is used here is universal. Earlier, I was using the word generic image or generic, sometimes translated as a generality, meaning generality. So in this context, what it means is that, meaning generality or universal. Right now you are here, right, discussing learning. But when you go back to your home, at your home, when you have a thought of this, what's going on here, that thought concept would become um, what is the word that you see here? Universal, object universal, object universal. So, that's the object universal, the concept or the image that you have in your mind. Later, when you are no more here, that would be the, object universal or the
단다 디기거든 다 미탁바 미탁바 던지다 만데 버터 던지다 만데 다 어디 어디지 다 오숨도 떠봐 이게 오숨지 또 도술지 생이샤기도 다 어딘데 많이 봤다 오수랑 또 거기에서 숨기서라 단다 디그 또 당사도 어디 다 온데 던지디 던지 속에 많이 봐 그랑 오수
So
단다 디기 그 찍디 그런 단다
the context that you are looking at, is on page 273, right? Having thoroughly accustomed, I'm trying to read that. Direct perception can be explained by the way of following illustration. Consider the case of someone who has subsequent cognition, realizing that sound is impermanent. Having thoroughly accustomed herself to sound being impermanent by way of analyzing it again and again, finally, at the end of the gradual process of moving through the 9 stages of mental stabilization and so on, there arises a valid perception, realizing clearly that sound is impermanent, unmixed with the universal. So in this case, what he's saying is that now that person has the direct realizations of the impermanence of sound. There's nothing in between. Nothing in between means there's no in between that conceptuality that you have, this is impermanent. There's no such kind of image in between. So now you have a direct understanding of impermanence of the sound. There is no that image, whether it is there's no that image in between the actual understanding and your kind of consciousness.
The veil.
Tadi kalau parade kalau ore tokba la ore tadi tokbe ke chawa chewa ro shwa do. Yeah, you can say that. The veil of again the word is conceptual. Yeah, conceptuality or concept that is in your mind. Now you don't have to sort of go through that. You are thinking directly. So here this is talking about the yogic direct perception. So yogic direct perception, perceiving directly the object. There's no in between. This image that we usually use.
Universal. So like the direct, so like a universal only relates to conceptual images. It's not like emptiness, which is like the ultimate reality. Like that's not a universal.
Then that 될 식디 고라서 튼지를 될다 고 떡바들 그거로 만들지기 칼로 남규기 지단계 동일에다 딜 그거 말로. Yeah, in this context, unmixed with the universal, it refers to this again the general image, or that not mixed with that image. It has nothing or unrelated with the emptiness. Understand? So
about like the word temperature. It consists of either hot or cold. It has many different instances, but essentially temperature by itself is a universal. Is that what we're leading towards?
당한스데 튼지라도 고야도 배신한테 인지도 템퍼리처라서 사람다. 원데라도 코 딘데지로 코넥트 고르다. 그 디나를 코 사고 주고를 장모 주고라서 다 딘데지라. 지라는 그걸 지고 고아도 딘데를 견을 주고를.
되게 지 템퍼리처즈나 지차나 되고 딜라파비안 지 템퍼리처즈 라인 제타 때문에 지종 보여라. 이제 제 치즈는 켜기 제타 셴바라네 켜베 각지는 켜 제타 요바질 리나 존에 라베네 지네 켜 제타 요비 켜다 제타 해네 지요비 켜다 켜라고라 되나 어디니 또 직선은.
So generally in the text when it explains to define universal is always to be a universal it must have particulars. So, again, when you're talking about the particulars, the particular is particular because there is a universality. So in that sense, you can say that is right. It is a universal because there is a particulars within that universality.
Okay.
So it is a kind of, so it is kind of, the concept here is posited through, we can say, interdependency. Because of others, this one exists. Because of that, that exists. So it has to be the interdependency of.
And it takes a perceiver to distinguish between the two.
And then they call that they share and go then they don't get logical water a lot. Go to cheta in but
Penang to Tandale and Laudo Chen, Pumba Lanareta, the Pumba Lalasana, Pumba Yichi de la Carja, Mofusagra, Pumba de Mofuchera, Mofuchera.
So again, using, when we look at the, say a cup, when you look at the cup, the cup is considered as a particular. And when we say particular, it has to have a universal. The universal is the concept object. Within that object, all including, your cup. So when we say particular, it has to have a universal. When we say universal, it has to or must have its particulars. So again, within the phenomena or object concept, we can have the cup itself. Cup can become, again, depending on others, it can be universal. If you look at the cup with the different types of cups, then there is a universality of the cup.
Okay, that makes
sense. No, yeah.
Any other questions?
More question? Yeah.
Sure.
When a member of our community, like our IVC community, experiences a loss, seeing their family, a friend is closest to them, what steps should we take to take care of that person?
당한주 어디 지단에 지들이 당한주 지단에 디단 디체즈면 믹스기 디체 주면 당한주 소방원이 직대 당한주 딜라인이 직 몰람로 직 초토바이나 더 주메부 몰람소 디체도바이나 배하고도 더 지단에 다 나와다 사와 디디오이나 증가줘야 투고 야마 투야당 디니 다나진기 디 양직 셔다 직 팀조다 당에 몰람 디디동고이나 ngala dichewa in lentewa in nge ngara de konggombare de nge roba geshe komna nga chunyam tu chigin khasanji ne tanda lari ki ko nyesa ji tongso de pongal message de so de nge digan le chime bo ene malam tinang ngara de
Yes. So from from on behalf of center, she was saying it would be good to have, if your community members can have a gathering of prayers and offering of candlelights or butter lamp, and in case of somebody who is going through illness, sick, it would be nice to kind of visit, and then if there needs any particular prayers for healing, those can be done, if informed to Geshe. And recently, Geshe said, so one of the member, contact him, and he did his prayer and offering of the lambs, and because he is available most of the time, and if his friend Geshe is also able, they will do that kind of services, and
기능조 다직 두저 콤모 콤다 용거 다직 상마 두저라 답된 거 돼서 봐 디요르 데이나 당한 중원에 직 미직니세 가지 좀 있는 딜라바비 직 취미를 볼 때가 저 때가 되나요? 직 야고도
Yes.
네 야고도 그저 콤바이나 다직 그저 통통징하나 지금에 지금 냠도 되네 지금 덤바도 있나 가래나 냠루기 터는 덤바이나래 가래 생각 타와이나래 딜라테스 누바치와요 와다 지금 소소되와다 딜 개발된대 요레스
Uh, Depending on the availability of the members, and some can attend, some cannot. But even there's just a couple of people, it would be helpful. We can have a short session of prayers or reciting of mantras, because the collective practice is always more powerful, effective than just individual kind of reciting prayers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The Jama Gashira, the Gyodan Jama, the Gyodan Chester, Shograndi.
No.
Was in a digit Matamio in the Shodan Parim.
Tradition tandanga di ho tanda wa de la dil testi do to samsa ina ta chito chatus
Dori doing their much to it. Yeah.
Will we be going back to where we were when we started today, or going forward to where we are now?
Yeah, I was exactly asking the same thing.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, going on.
Because I think we came up with the outline. Yeah, we came up with the outline, right? We distributed that, and I was asking him, if he's going to start from where we, this, then we need to
Chanda
change.
de call it down din ma dogins. Yeah, that German nge some la dinema de si kosare samsam do da dange khasan thangbo ni di yon zambane ta phajong e peja de ken zamba chani da dene do tes di do to di andi yosare samsam de yan tes ti chala ko thom do dene do de denge ngara ta ma do pha di chigmen se ta di jamane ina
Then the motion dura.
tanda gandhi de taranda
Ganma dura.
the gandhi
So yeah, he was saying he will continue with the where we stopped earlier last time. And so
I'll get Renee to.
yeah.
then the kind of shuguma dam joshur diranja de hero.
Taran dicho, people to dosh taran dichin. Shela di amadu.
Lori yewashura.
Taran gala kadiyo taran diche. In Maya Yamashira.
So he was saying that he was also, when he read the book, he wasn't completely sure how to kind of, go through the text, and he's thought maybe jumping ahead and then going into the detail of where the text is, the detail might be helpful. But we will continue with the where we stopped earlier. So that would be page 47. Lori, you generally use to doing the loss at the niche. And then I want to say,
I didn't mark that short
okay, so from page 47 onwards.
당연서 디디 샤스티 처음에는 디체셔로
Yeah.
예수를 넣으신 슈 what is
지금 쉬우구나.
it's today prayer
Dedication prayer, page 49.
Chancho Zencho Rinpoche Maye Banama Gengyuroche Kewa Nyamba Nepa Yang Kone Gondo Bewa Raisho Kare Rave Kowe Chinkande Pendan Dewa Malun Jungwe Chere Sewan Tenzin Gyatso Ye Shabe Side Bardo Dengyuroche Jabal Bawe Jidara Yemba Dan Kundo Zambo Deyan Dechin Teta Kunje Jeso Dalo Jin Gewan Dida Tamje Radung Yusuma Chebe Gyawa Tamje Yengu Kanla Chodo Ngaba Taki Gewe Sawan Dikun Yang Sambo Cheche Radung Wargi. In English?
May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen and grow, and
They be chased
it
or
is arisen,
not
not diminish, but
but
is more and
more.
more. In the
In the
land
land
and
of
sacrifice of
will
our
be counted,
the
source of happiness, infinite flowing.
Wars to your presence,
Tuesday,
and
they
please remain
unto
unto
self.
our eyes. Just as the Bodhisattva on Geshe attain omniscience and summoned about the truth, so how do I dedicate these merits to train and follow in the footsteps? As all the victorious Buddhas of the past, present, and future, praise dedication as the brain, so now I too dedicate these sources of my merit for all ways to perfect good actions.
Tujiche.
Thank you.